2 months ago, my friend Jell and I played through the game We Were Here. It's a free co-op puzzle game with some spooky elements that was quite enjoyable to play through. It had an easy-on-the-eyes cartoon art style with quite a few good puzzles. The only real issues I had, aside from some technical glitches, were the design of the walkie-talkies and the ordering of the puzzles near the start. It was fun, stressful at the right moments, and it caused the creation of my favorite video I've ever made. The original title was a student project which spawned 3 sequels. Today, we're taking a look at We Were Here 2 to see what improvements were made with this title being a paid release available on consoles. If you want to watch my video on the original game or the full gameplay recording, both will be linked in the description and in the card. Let's get into it. In the last game, there were 2 roles to choose from, the Explorer and the Librarian. This time, you choose between being the Peasant or the Lord. During our first playthrough, Jell played as the Peasant and I played as the Lord. The opening cutscene this time is a 3D animation instead of 2D stills with snow effects on top. I personally prefer the original art style, but both of these have their charm and do the job well. Our characters are in a small group of 4 navigating through a blizzard and an icy tundra. One of the characters behind us stumbles and falls, with their friend staying behind to help them. This causes the group to get separated. A flare shoots up in the background, drawing our attention to a castle in the distance. Since the other half of our group is gone, maybe it's a distress call from them. We head towards it, finding nothing but the remains of the flare. We walk inside, with the gates slamming shut behind us. It seems it's time for us to split up and look for the rest of our group. We don't really have any other choice at this point. The art style is a lot more realistic than before. It's gritty and dark with really cool lighting. I still do prefer how the original looked, but this is by no means bad, just slightly less charming in my opinion. This time you start off with your radios already equipped. It was pretty easy to miss them in the original if you didn't know what to look for, so this was a nice way to avoid a possible problem for some players. The walkie-talkies in the original game were kind of a mess. It was a cool but really flawed mechanic. You had no way of knowing whether your friend was talking or not, so we had to say over at the end of every communication. That combined with the fact that sometimes when we pressed the button to talk, it just flat out didn't work, made for a really rough experience. Thankfully, they made some improvements this time around. One thing Jell and I really wanted for them was to make it so that the light on the radio only turned on when your partner was talking, so we couldn't talk over each other. They added this and it works quite well. The only other thing I think they could improve would be troubleshooting why the radio sometimes doesn't transmit audio in the first place, because we experienced that glitch once again. We spawn in rooms with the same runes as the previous game. I have 6 holes in the walls with runes above them, while Jell has what looks like a stone slot machine with 3. He can rotate them at will and pull a lever on the side to submit his answer. Since there's a coffin next to the machine, I'm supposed to describe only the runes above the holes that have coffins inside of them. Jell will then rotate the slot machine wheels with the runes on them until the correct ones are lined up. I think this is a substantially better puzzle than the one at the start of the first game. Instead of getting an entire list of runes to look through, we only have 6 this time, which I personally think eases players into the puzzle-solving mindset much better. You don't start the game by being overwhelmed with options. Jell and I got through this tutorial puzzle pretty easily. Jell was still substantially better at describing the runes than I was, so he carried pretty dang hard here. My next room functions as somewhat of a hub world for the next couple of puzzles. There are an assortment of doors scattered around alongside an open book, some vertical banners, and a park gazebo kind of thing in the middle. Jell had a book as well, this time next to some horizontal banners and candles with symbols next to them. We both read our books, revealing love letters. Jell's was written by someone going by B, while mine is written by someone going by C. My book also contains drawings of candles with tally marks on them, although they look like Roman numerals at first glance. Jell starts describing his banners. While mine show a single rune inside of a circle, his are more so in the format of a skill tree with different small segments that'll make up a larger rune in each circle. I have to describe my rune, and Jell has to locate the segments that when layered on top of each other will replicate that rune. It took a solid minute to accurately describe this to each other, but I actually think this puzzle is great. It's fairly description heavy once again, as most of the puzzles in this game tend to be, but I think the interactivity of it made it a lot more fun to work with, although it was definitely a lot cooler from the perspective of the peasant. Next is a pretty simple puzzle. Jell has to activate the candles in the order listed in my book. The Roman numeral fake out confused me for a bit, but we got it done quickly. With both of these puzzles complete, a summoning circle with glowing runes appears inside the gazebo in my room. This is mirrored in Jell's room, although it's a lot harder to see them for him because of the lighting. Thankfully, once he activates one of them, it glows and makes things a lot more visible, but he still needs to activate them in the correct order, so he can't just go around willy-nilly. It's time for another episode of Jell trying to figure out what the hell Ben is describing. This actually wasn't as bad as last time. I think he's adjusting to my weird way of processing visual information. I think this is the same thing as before, where you get to move on to different rooms and I'm in one really big hub area. Does that sound about right?
Yep. Ah!
Why are you screaming? You okay?
No, I just almost fell in lava. That's fine. What the? Oh no! Oh no! The steps are disappearing! Okay, alright, of course this is me again!
Jell is on a large spiral staircase that is losing steps by the minute. On the wall is a flattened cube. I have a room with an assortment of unflattened cubes. Jell needs to describe his cube while I compare the information to the ones I have until we find the matching set.
So I see a cross. It's got a compass in the middle pointing north. There is north of that, there is a play button. It's a triangle on the side, like it's like a play button on a YouTube video. Then east question mark? East is right?
East is right, yeah.
West is is a square.
I'm not seeing compass points at all. I think there might be some on the sides of, like, I see a bunch of boxes. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh! Okay, you're listening? Okay, you're listening. Okay. Because it's an unfolded box. It's like a cross. Because you know, like when you unfold, like it's origami, baby.
Oh, I found I could pick up the boxes and examine them further, and there's way more information.
Okay, so we gotta find the one that you have, or the one I have.
This game never ceases to make me feel stupid. When we identify the correct cube, the gate next to Jell raises and we can move further up. Now, here's the thing. Even though this room has a ton of different cubes, they all only apply to the first puzzle. We compared all of them in this room to the second flattened cube, and none of them matched up. Apparently, I was supposed to leave the original room and sprint around the hub world looking for a single newly opened door with more cubes inside. There wasn't any indicator that this was the case, which had some unfortunate side effects. There are a total of 20 doors to search for in that hub, which is overkill on so many levels. It also means that if you think, wait, maybe there's more cubes somewhere else, and you walk outside and see a dozen doors that are closed, you just assume probably not. But uh-oh, look at that one tucked in the corner. You were supposed to go over there, you stupid idiot. Once we managed to understand all aspects of the puzzle, we solved it on our next try.
Yippee! I'm alive! I'm alive!
I just fell through the map.
Wait, are you serious?
Yep, I waited, I walked, yep, I am in the black void right now.
So, basic game design rule. Don't let players into an area unless it has been loaded. That door should not have been able to open until the room behind it was fully loaded in. Jell seemed to be pretty okay with it though.
I am falling into nothingness.
Do you think it's gonna reset you, or should we use a checkpoint?
It would have reset me by now. Yeah, all I have is your little red light when you speak to me.
Oh, they did have the like the list of stuff, right, in the play menu, so we can just find whatever the description was for the next puzzle.
True, but maybe this is where I belong, Ben.
Just get out of the void. I'm gonna quit the game. I'll unmute in Discord when we're out there, okay?
It's fine. I like it down here.
Don't become a goth. It's not allowed.
Okay.
We reloaded and tried to figure out which level we were in. We technically found it first try, but because Jell clipped through the map and I never got to go to the next room, neither of us were 100% sure. We looked around trying to see if we could get back to where we were for the original puzzle so we could double check.
Is it the right place? Because I see a fucking, like, I don't know, like a pirate ship steering wheel.
I am a little lost. Let me see if I can find where I was before.
What?
Marionette?
What? It's back?
I don't know if we're in the right spot.
I don't think so. I'm gonna kill myself.
We ended up going to the level beforehand and just knocking out the cube puzzle for a third time. We figured if the marionette was here, we probably missed some segment. Now that Jell isn't in the eternal abyss, we can finally move on. As I move into the next room, I see a switch on the wall here. Jell sees one too. This will be incredibly important later, so make sure to keep it in the back of your mind. The room I'm in has a spiked wall that starts to draw closer the second I take a step in. There are 4 armor stands, one in each corner. They have different emblems on shields above them, as well as different weapons and shields in each of their hands. The same armor stands are in Jell's room next to an assortment of weapons and shields for him to match up with my room. He also has a wheel in the center that will retract the wall so I'm not squashed like a bug. This one is really straightforward. Using the above shields with different chimeras on the surface, we can figure out which armor stand needs to get which items. They're pretty hard to describe, but we managed to get past with only a few hiccups. The next rooms are split into multiple segments. For me, I see a small chest-like board next to another one of those levers as well as 3 stained glass windows. Jell sees a massive board as well as 6 stained glass windows and 3 blank slots. I have to describe the images in the stained glass windows, and Jell has to take apart his piece by piece and reassemble them to match what I describe. This is really boring. We have had almost exclusively puzzles where one person sees something, they describe it, and the other person has to try and match what they see. I liked the variety of the maze, the chess, and the theater puzzle from the last game, even if the chess one did get to be kind of frustrating with the time limit. But I would greatly prefer frustration and a challenge over being bored because every puzzle feels the same.
Okay, so I see that same wood pattern, like the checkerboard, but with no fucking checker pattern. It does lead to a little castle that has on the front. You okay?
The marionette appears a lot more in this game. I like that they hide him in tons of different rooms from both perspectives, and he laughs before disappearing if you manage to spot him, but I don't like that you never get to face off against him. The theater puzzle in the original game was great because of the time limit and the ever-narrowing line of sight. This legitimate threat was one of the best parts of the game, and they never do anything like it here. It detracts from the horror aspects that were so interesting in the original, even if they were a bit scarce. The castle puzzle addresses the variety that I was looking for. I see a single piece on my board as well as some obstacles around. Jell sees different pieces in different locations. When I move my piece, all of his pieces move in the same direction. We need to work together to get Jell's pieces to the right spot without running into any obstacles. It takes some getting used to, but once you figure it out, it's pretty fun. It was a much needed change of pace after so much basic description. After that, Jell found a room with circles on the floor.
So I see like a I stepped on a circle and I'm in a maze. Circle maze. I hear the marionette!
I actually got to view him from above this time. Across from me is the marionette, doing absolutely nothing per usual. I have to direct Jell through the maze to each circle with a glowing X on it. I can see the markers, but Jell cannot. This here is where I need to talk about interacting with your environment. This game does a really poor job of showing you that you can interact with things. During the cube puzzle, I had absolutely no idea how to pick up the cubes until I started hitting random buttons and it eventually worked. Apparently, during the stained glass window puzzle, I could zoom in and look closer at my examples, but I only learned about it during our second playthrough when Jell did it. During this one, I spent the first part of the puzzle trying to direct Jell through the maze without having any indicator that I could click on an empty spot over the balcony to get a perfect overhead view so I could properly see. This was an issue only one time in the original game with the trapdoor in the theater puzzle. This game does it so many times, and the only indicator is your itty-bitty reticle becoming slightly larger. Show a button prompt, fill in the reticle, or make it a different brighter color, maybe glowing. Do literally anything that conveys that you can interact with these things. Our lives were substantially harder than they needed to be because of this. I'm sure some of you who played this were easily able to notice this, but with good game design, it's important to make sure that stuff that could be easily missable is not easily missable. This puzzle is mainly completed by figuring out what communication system works for you and your partner. Maybe you say right and left, maybe you use cardinal directions. Whatever makes the most sense to you. Just make sure to plot out the route beforehand, start explaining to the best of your ability, and you will eventually get it down. U-turn. Right, then immediately left. Go in the center.
Yeah!
Lava!
Wait, lava? What? Where are you?
I'm in a hole and it's lava. Yeah, Ben, I think I no-clipped through the thing that I was supposed to be in. So I'm underneath, I'm with the lava that's slowly rising.
Okay, so it sounds like we should probably just restart it real quick now that we have the new area unlocked. I mean, what else do we do?
Ah!
This puzzle gave us some trouble, but it's not the fault of the game itself. We're just very stupid when we want to be. Jell and I are separated by bars and lava is raising from below his feet. There are 6 rotating wheels that have different symbols on them. When I rotate them, a different set of wheels rotates on Jell's side. Our symbols are offset by 1, so we just need to adjust by a singular row. This took us a solid half hour to figure out. We're really smart people, I promise. We technically did have to take a little break in the middle though. Do you mind if we pause for one moment and I quickly go grab food?
Yeah, go ahead. Ben, look from your POV and then speed this up real fast. Like that. Yeah. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it. Actually, I gotta give you more instructions. So you have the audio from me screaming, right? And then from your POV, and if you could just, every time I show up, you bring up the volume of my screaming, and then you bring it back down when I disappear. So it's just like, Thank you.
I hope you die in a fire. Hope you get stabbed in the heart. Hope you get shot in a fire.
Michael!
How's it going, gelatinous rat?
I've just been running.
After that puzzle, we move on to the final area. We are no longer separated by a wall or bars, and we can complete the final puzzle together, except for the fact that we still can only communicate through walkie-talkies, which is unfortunate, but it's not too big of a deal. The final room involves this elevator.
Okay, I guess we go up the elevator. Oh, no, up. I pressed up. It didn't work. I pressed up!
Well, goodbye.
I pressed up! What?
What just happened? Is it too much weight? Correct, past Ben, we were too heavy for the elevator. By this point, both Jell and I had realized that we were near the end. But we're both the self-sacrificial type in games like these. Thus, we began trying to trick the other person into leaving. Since the elevator can only hold the weight of one person, we both made the assumption that wherever it took you would lead to the exit. I told Jell to get on the elevator, but he refused and told me to trust him and that I should go on. I hopped on, my thought process being that if it took me to the exit, I could just stay on the elevator and lie about what I saw. I could tell him that there's just a brick wall up there and I don't know how to pass. Afterward, I would get him to take the elevator and look, and he would be the one forced to leave. Neither of our plans would work. Initially, I thought this wheel over here is what would make the elevator move, but it didn't seem to do anything as far as we could tell. That means that if we found the exit after riding the elevator, we could just take it back down without leaving by pressing the button, forcing the mind games to continue. Upon riding the elevator up, I noticed 2 things: a gate and a terminal. The marionette made some noises and appeared behind me, but he was unthreatening as always. This gate was clearly the exit, but it was closed. The terminal next to it only had a few yellow bulbs illuminated out of a total of 12. There were runes above it as well as a lever in the middle. After moving around, we noticed some extra rooms behind the elevator. You can ride on top of the elevator instead of inside to reach them, activating more levers that turned on more bulbs. To open this gate, we clearly needed to illuminate every single bulb. But there were 12 of them, and there is no way in hell that they could hide that many levers in such a small area. We moved up and down over and over again, trying to find where these levers could possibly be. Then, it happened.
I didn't even see the fake video.
As I was riding the elevator up, I saw the partially opened gate come to a close. Suddenly, everything made sense. Jell was most likely fiddling with that mysterious wheel at the bottom floor, since we just had a conversation about it. That meant it was probably what opens the gate. This was my chance to free Jell to make up for me surviving last time. I knew that Jell wanted to be the sacrifice once again, so I had to try and manipulate him. But how was I going to get him to walk past the gate? I have an idea.
Okay.
I'm gonna come back down, and I'm gonna send you back up, okay?
Okay.
Okay, go up there real quick. I have a weird idea.
You want me to get off?
Yeah, get off, press your back against the gate for me so that you can see like where that marionette was spawning.
Yep.
Okay, now, I have an idea. I don't know if it will spawn the marionette or not because it seems like it keeps coming back on occasion. So just hold back in case it does, because proximity seems to be what murders us when that happens.
Okay, sounds good.
My heart was pounding. I am a horrible liar, this was complete nonsense, but it was my best bet and the only thing I could come up with on the spot. If Jell believed me even slightly that the marionette might be able to hurt him, he would hold down S and move past the gate. The only problem is that I wouldn't know when he was through.
Ben! Ben!
Keep going back!
No! That is not happening! This is not happening!
I was so close!
I was like, what the f is this man talking about? This man's lying to me.
He's trying so hard, man.
Not happening! There's clearly a way that both of us can get out of here.
Jell actually has a really good point here. If the wheel is what opens the gate, then those lights had to be part of a way to get both of us out. I've just had a possibly bad realization where I think I've seen some of those other levers throughout some of the other rooms.
No! You're right! Because you told me you saw a lever that you would the maze puzzle, right?
It turns out we were aiming to get a secret ending. Throughout the entire game, there were 12 hidden levers. 4 for me to find, 4 for Jell, and 4 together. When all were activated, we could leave. This unfortunately meant that we needed to replay the entire game. So that's exactly what we did. To spice things up a bit, we switched roles at Jell's request. I thought it would slow us down, but it actually helped give a new perspective, and I'm glad we did it in the end. This time, Jell was the lord and I was the peasant. These levers were sometimes well hidden, other times not. The first one required Jell to find some hidden symbols for me to input into the machine to reveal the lever, but then there were times where we just kind of found them sitting around in the shadows. It didn't take long for us to get all the levers and reach the control panel once again.
Welcome, boy.
Let's go
Together. Another way.
We did the thing!
Yeah! Yippee!
It's a very blurry cutscene.
Yeah. Pre-rendered. What the fuck? That's you, by the way.
It is? Okay.
Yeah, that's the peasant. What the fuck's the peasant doing? What are you doing? No! AKA me originally. What?
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 What's the point? What?
Why did we go back in?
Just worked so hard for that. So that was We Were Here too. I like that we were able to both escape by doing an extra challenge, but having the peasant just walk back inside felt like it invalidated us replaying the entire game. There wasn't really a point to what we did, the end result was the same. The gameplay itself was good. I liked the more physically interactive puzzles a lot, but they definitely oversaturated the game with puzzles about matching what the other person sees with no variation. The compactor room puzzle was a good example of doing things right, where there were realistic stakes and both people were able to move around and describe things to each other. I think the game was at its weakest with puzzles like the stained glass, where you just tried to match things while standing mostly still. The only other major issue I had with the puzzles was the button prompts. Having no button prompts to tell you what you can interact with just made things so much harder than they needed to be. Something else Jell and I noticed was that we both had substantially more fun when playing the game as the Lord, with the exception of the banner puzzle. In a game like this, both players should have a balanced experience when it comes to enjoyment, so that was a little disappointing. The music was really fitting, and the stingers they used whenever we saw the marionette was the only real spooky part about the character. So overall, good sound design. This game, despite being a sequel made with more time, was a lot less stable. We experienced a stupid amount of game-breaking glitches when just playing through normally, which is especially bad in a game like this where many of the puzzles are randomized. We Were Here too had higher highs but lower lows. It was glitchier, but you can tell that they truly took a lot of the criticism from the first game to heart when they were working on it. From what I can tell, this is considered to be one of, if not the worst game in the series. But if that's the case, we can only go up from here. Thanks to Jellrat for joining me and carrying for quite a few of these puzzles. His Twitch will be linked below. He has some really chaotic and fun streams that I would highly recommend checking out. I hope to see you all again. Have a great rest of your day. I'm back in the hub world, but there's now what appears to be, I don't really know how to leave here.